Yes. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the fourth session of the doctoral seminar series. My name is Dominique Samda. I'm a researcher at UMA. The recording for the seminar will be available on the Facebook page and the UMA YouTube channel. You'll find a program for the next seminars on the UMA website. For the upcoming quarters, we have invited speakers to reflect on the challenges and strategies of doctoral work, with a particular focus on the turning points and critical experiences that shaped their journey. Our guest today is Dr. Ibrahim Anyang. He's a postdoctoral research fellow at UMA, where he's part of the Knowledge Activism in Africa project. That particular research strand has debuted their own seminar series on Tuesday, and you can find Ibrahima on the recording for that session on the UMA Facebook page. Dr. Nyang holds a PhD in sociology from the University of Sheikh Anta Diop of Dakar in Senegal. His doctoral dissertation was entitled "The Relationships Between China and Senegal, Context, Issues, and Perspective." He has been a lecturer at the Department of Sociology at the University of Sheikh Anta Diop for 8 years. His teaching focused on African sociology and anthropology, economic sociology, and international relations, as well as China's geopolitics in Africa. He's engaged in research at the Codestria program, Africa, China, and the School of Agriculture and Rural Development of the People's University of China. Today, Dr. Nyang will discuss research ethics. He will speak for around 15-20 minutes, right? And then the floor will be open for questions, and hopefully we'll have a very nice conversation. So Dr. Nyang, welcome, and you have the floor.
Okay, thank you, Dominique. Good afternoon, everyone. So today I have the honor and the pleasure to be the speaker after my colleagues, the brilliant talks of my colleagues as Chikedze, Job Maura, and Itai Makone. So today I will ask you to be more tolerant with me, because I'm not very fluent in English. I'm a French speaker. That's why. So I will try to do my best to share my works or my experience on research on ethics. So first of all, I would like to say that these communications has no the intention, neither the means to cover the broad range of ethics issues on research. Because today ethics are everywhere, asserted by companies, claimed by scientists, invoked by politicians. But ethics is not morality. Morality is a system of duties and values that cement social relationships as a whole, whereas ethics groups together values according to a given interest. So my purpose is to share my experience concerning the way that people are involved in global research, how we can find an an ethical path. So I will share my PPT with the audience, so that we can step by step follow what I would like to talk this afternoon. We at the beginning, I think we have to say what it is an ethical research and what it is not an ethical global challenge research. Ethical decisions making at each stage of the journey, from formalization of an ethical idea to partnership development and engagement, to securing ethical funding, project planning and delivery, to data analysis and interpretation, writing and dissemination, and legacy responding. Ethical global challenge research is accountable through transparency in its aims, conduct and report it. Ethical global challenge research is built on a foundational commitment to collaborative, reflexive practice and continual learning. So, ethical global research is a journey that spans from a nascent research idea to a research legacy that lasts well beyond the end of the project. Ethical global research is built on shared humanitarian and communitarian values that draw together the global academic village to address problems that may seem locally insurmountable. Ethical global challenge is responsive to the priorities, needs and preference of community stakeholders. This list is a very long list, but we just choose some points and share it with you this point. But ethical global challenge is not driven primarily by funding decision or political agenda. You see sometimes people, when they are doing research, they say that I would like to work in this topic because, you know, if you work in this topic, you have more chance to get more funds. Their own agenda is not for research, doing research for research. They do research because they say that now there is more money on research on health than other sector. So I would like to make a doctoral thesis in health or in other sector or in other subject, because health, there is more funded in health than other sector. So ethical challenge is not driven by a political agenda. You can see some research. They said that these topics can enable me to earn more money. So what I have to do is to anticipate by doing research, by giving some results that are if we analyze the results, we can see that it's not a serious research. It's not based on scientific methodology. It just do just for, you know, presenting some things, you know, pushing the partner to give them some funds to do research on this topic. We see here in Senegal a researcher who is doing research on radicalism or Islamism, and, you know, he presents some catastrophic phase of the radicalism in the suburbs, just, you know, to take some attention from the foundation from embassy here in Dakar to, to give him some funds concerning this research. So ethical global research is not imposed on vulnerable groups. Ethical global challenge is not conducted in isolation from the communities involved. The communities should be co-owner or co-production for the research. So ethics need, for me, to research to be front of mind throughout our research project. We have to keep this through our research journey. Like we have to be ethics in the beginning to the beginning, in the beginning to the end of our research. So that's why I say, so many associate research ethics with an approval process at their institutions, an administrative or bureaucratic hurdle to be overcome so that researchers can get onwards their research. However, ethical conundrums do not neatly fit into an ethics application form, nor are they limited to a specific point in time early in the project. Additionally, things change as the project unfolds. Ethics need to be front of mind through our research project. So making an ethical choice is really about considering one simple issue at a time. It is usually having to hold and balance many important and competing considerations in order to produce ethical outcomes. I was talking about the 4 interdependent threads that weave through all stages of our research. We have the consideration at each stage of a research journey. This is just a plan. It does not mean that this plan, all the research will be follow this plan. So, but the column in my left side, I think, is very important when we are doing research, because the place is very important. The place where you are doing your research, because it's the context in which the ethical dilemma is occurring. You have to think about the place, what's happened, because the place is like we are working in cross-cultural space. Like I'm in Senegal. I'm from Senegal, and I go to China to do research. And when I arrive there, there is a different culture. So I have to, to deal with this culture. I have to deal with people who reflect differently with me, who have different habits like me. That's why the first important point is the place for me. It is very important to talk about the place, because we have to ask what will work in this context. So if you ask this question, what will work in this context, in this place, you have to think about the local living culture, because sometimes you arrive in the village, they offer you a cup of water. You may think that the water is not pure, so you used to drink mineral water. Maybe you can refuse. So if you refuse that, they can, they can not facilitate you the research that we are doing in this village. In a Chinese village, where we visited with my colleagues, some villagers, like the head of the village, when he proposed you to drink alcohol, for example, my colleagues who are going there explained me that he proposed you to drink alcohol. Drinking alcohol, so if your religion does not enable you to drink alcohol and you refuse that, in their culture, they think that it's like an affront for them. That's why I said the place, the context in which the ethical dilemma is important because of local living culture. So in the place also we think about the political context. You know, there is some country you cannot arise some research case. When I was in China, I was one day asking my supervisor one question concerning the arrestation of a leader of communism party. So he answered me that so we can talk for many cases, but not concerning domestication, like politics. It enabled me to understand that the political context is very important when you are doing research in some place. So even I can give you one example concerning a country nearby, like in Guinea. The political context forbidden researchers to do research in story during the Sékou period. You know, there is no Guinean researcher who are living in Guinea who can do research during this period. There, you know, this because of the political context. Though. So we can also mention the importance of place by talking about the economic context, because the economic context is important at this stage. You have to deal with the distribution of resources allocated for the research in the place. The second level that I would like also to talk is the people. People, I think, is the heart of the research, and relationships can be the making or breaking of a project. Ethical solutions rely on investment in relationships and in capacity building amongst our team and our partner. So that's why people, for me, it's very, very important when we are talking about ethical research, on research. So you have to build relationships with people. When you arrive somewhere, you need a gateway. You need a gateway, and the gateway, facilitates you the way that you are doing your research in the village. So that's why I say that the people are the heart of the research. That's why, people at this stage we can mention people. There is the researcher. Is firstly he's implicated on this. There is the participant. So you have to make some interview. If you have not good relation, if you did not build good relationships with the population, it will be difficult for you to have a good research. So that's why you have to build a good relationship with those people. So the other things is the stake, the participant. The participant, like so I quite often we organize some focus group, and we need to talk with some people, and we have to, sometimes you have to pay them because they stop their work to come to assist you in your research, to reply to some question. And at that level we still have ethical problems. That how much do I pay for this activity? So people, they used to host it some researcher, and researcher used to give them money. So you have to deal with whether you have to give them or not. So quite often they think that when you finish to make the interview with them, maybe you have to pay them. So for me, in my case, because I used to go sometime in the rural area, and I see people are living in lower conditions. So when I finish, I used to, to give them little amount of money, considering like that it is you can buy a cola, or how we say here in Senegal. So this is for me very important when we are talking about ethics. So this is the four streets, like the people, the place, what will help us bring our best and draw in the support we need. The place, I talked about the place, and I would like to talk about the principle. The principle, what worldview and values will best guide us. Ethical challenge can be, triggered by different principles that underpin and shape a research project, the culture and the people involved. So when we are talking about principle, there is the values. So our values and can influence what we research and how we research it. That's why I said that we have to, when we are doing ethical research, we think about if our values can make some biases in our research. So this is important also when we are talking about principle, to ask who will most benefit from this research. It is very important when we are doing research to ask this question. So methodological rigor, it's very important at this stage. Okay, so finding also solution to ethical challenge involve some reflection on our research, in our research method. Also, transparency with accountability is very important. So the last point of the four principle is the precedent. So because sometimes when we're doing research and we made some problems, so we have to return and to see how the others, they have deal with this problem. So that's why when things go wrong, precedent can be a great place to start in finding a solution. So enabling ethical outcomes, requires us to be alert to their precedent, so that we can discern when to draw on and when to challenge established ways of working. So identifying successful practice to guide new research. This is the different steps. The research idea at the beginning. There is the research idea. So you have to it's like an interaction between the research idea, the place, the people, the principle, and the precedent. This how to say this schema, I'm not sure whether is the right term in English, is not something like unique. You have your own way of doing research. You have your idea of research. You begin to do your literature review and begin to make your data collection. And both there is some research that they need ethics application. There is some research that they doesn't need ethics application because of the context of where you are doing the research. So this is just a schematic, though, but you don't need to follow this, because each context have each way of doing research. So I would like to conclude and let you to raise some question. I think the debate will be more interested in that presentation. So my conclusion is that research ethics is not just filling in a form, it needs to be incorporated at all stages of the research and into the researcher's worldview. Observing ethical standards and being ethical is more important to your research career than anything else, including funding and publication. Ethics come first. So thank you, Dominique, for your invitation.
Thank you so much, Ibrahima, for this fascinating presentation. And I love that you ended that way with, like, placing ethics at the core of the research trajectory, research goal. I think it's very important that researcher keep that in mind in their process. And among the many, there's so many points that I hope that we are going to discuss. And I let the people in this room ask their questions. But for me, I love to start with a question on what you alluded to, the cross-cultural experience of the researcher in another context. And so you mentioned you work in China. And you also started with the idea of the global academic village, and I found that the two points interesting to articulate. Like so you took an example of yourself in a Chinese village and the ethical dilemma of having to accept or refuse the offering of alcohol, and I think this is a very common, for a different reason, this is a very common situation when you have to respect the dignity of your interlocutor, of the people that are hosting you, and at the same time you have either religious, political, or health consideration that you have to follow. So that's one, but then there's also the cross-cultural experience of being an academic and having to also follow rules or guidelines, and, for example, ethical codes that are not necessarily the one that you presented, in your university, in front of your peers, in your country of origin, of place of work. So could you speak a little bit to the cross-cultural academic experience and the necessity of also following rules that were created elsewhere? And if you could say, for example, if in China, like the ethic guidelines that sociologists in the field were supposed to follow were similar or different from the one that you had accepted to follow in Senegal.
Okay. So thank you for this question. I think it's a very important discussion because it can enable us to deepening our understanding of the context and culture in which we are operating when in our research. So yes, the cross-cultural is very, very important when you are working in some subject. So I can give you another example. Talking with the Chinese community is not easy. You need to have someone who introduce you to the community. Otherwise, you will fail in your research. You have to someone who belong to the communities, to manage you some appointment. This is ethical dilemma. So you have to be objective, and you have to write something, a paper on China Senegal or China Africa relation. You have to be critics on when you are doing research, but they open you the door to enter in their community. So how you have to deal with such kind of situation. And the second thing is like, when I was doing research, I received funds from Chinese government. So it is an ethical dilemma. So as a researcher, I said that I am doing research and I have to present the fact. And I'm not here to see what is good or what is bad for Chinese. Or I'm doing research and I present the fact. You know, when we finish a report with with Codestria in the program China Africa, they resend us the report, because they say that there is one aspect of the report that from Beijing they are not agree with the researcher, because we say that when the China give loan for like for African country or for my country to build a theater or to build a highway, it's a way to open the market for Chinese enterprises to you know, to push them to set up their business in Africa. So when we mention that, they say that they are not agree with our conclusion. So I say that I reply and I said, so this is the fact, you know, beyond you give us the money to do the research, but this is the fact. Sometimes we are confronting with such kind of ethics dilemma when we are doing research.
Thank you so much. I may have follow-up question, but I'm going to ask everybody to share their question with us. You can use the little emoji hand, or your red hand, or or the chat if you'd like to ask a question to Ibrahima. Okay, we have a question from, I think from Mimi. That's right. It was very, yeah. Okay, could you unmute yourself?
Thank you so much for your talk, which I think is very important when considering research. I have a question about, the dilemmas that one might face in a place where there's contradictions between what your participants might be welcome for you to do versus what maybe policies or permissions of that vicinity might contradict you to doing those things. I'm thinking from my own perspective, if I'm preparing to do my research in the DRC. I've never been there, but just reading a few articles and talking to people who have been there, having to navigate spaces that are sometimes precarious, where sometimes you feel like you're allowed to do certain things or talk to certain people, but then at the end of the day, there's some conflict. Or, I mean, how does one have to I don't know, to do research in such a situation? I don't know whether my question is clear. Maybe it's a little bit ambiguous. Did you ever face a scenario where you were in a particular place and the people welcomed you, but then there were maybe a group of people who didn't permit you to conduct your field work? What does one do in that aspect?
Muted.
Are you muted?
Okay, so I say that when I face such kind of situation, I used to, where if I go somewhere, I used to look for someone who would be my gateway, someone who can open the door. You need that in our context. So when I'm going somewhere, I need to talk with someone who can enable me to reach my informer. So I think that this is the way that I have to resolve this kind of problem. I'm not sure whether I have responded clearly your question or not. So if I go somewhere and I have not any information or any contacts in this group, so I think the best way for me is like to look someone who can open the door for you. In some community, this is the rule, particularly in my research. If the Chinese community, if you work in Chinese community, you need someone who opens the door for you, to introduce you in the communities. Otherwise, it will be difficult for you to do research in this context.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mimi. Is that the answer you were looking for? Do you want to add a follow-up?
Well, yes, I think he did. I mean, yes, what he said is a good point. Having a gate opener, identifying a gatekeeper, so to speak, who could allow you access in places that are otherwise, I don't know, precarious or strange or uncertain. But I will think about it. Maybe I'll have another question as the discussion goes further.
Okay, yeah, of course, Mimi, you can absolutely ask another question. We have a question from Alicia. Do you want to unmute yourself?
My question is on and the line between, say you're doing research in your own community where you're from. What is the line between when it becomes ethical or not, or unethical, when you are doing research with people that you know, or there's a mixture of people that you know and people that you don't know? How do you navigate that? Is that okay? Especially also, I don't know if this is a question or relates to it definitely relates, but thinking about insider, outsider type of being a researcher that is insider, outsider, and within that kind of indices. Yeah.
Okay, so I think you mentioned a very interesting occasion, like being a member of the community and doing research in the community. These ethical issues can be triggered concerning this question, because you belong to those people, and when you are doing research on this community, you share the same value of community. So how can you be, how to say that, to extract yourself, in the community, to be to extract yourself to the community and to do research in your community, is something not very easy. It's very complicated. It's an ethical dilemma that we face when we are doing research, and we have to find solution of how a researcher who belongs to a community, who interact with this community, can be objective with this community by respecting the ethical issue. So I think this is just a presentation, and we have to think more about it, and to find together a solution of this, because the way that we belong to the community, we have we are influenced by the research culture. Before we have a research idea, there is the research culture, and the research culture influence us in the way that we built our research idea. You know, there is some biases concerning this point. So I think during the research journey, we may resolve this problem by maybe the support of our colleagues. So this is important to have a team research, and together you can resolve such kind of problem. I think this is my answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Ibrahim. And I think it's really important to insist on the fact that there are particular issues and ethical issue concerning the fact of being an insider as a researcher. It's not only the outsider that has to consider and face ethical dilemma, but also absolutely the insider in the particular cultural context. We have a question from Wacheha. And Wacheha, can you unmute yourself?
Many thanks for this presentation and discussion. I think it's very helpful, and particularly the insights that research ethics run through the whole research process. So I would love to hear some tips from the speaker about how to go about researching a phenomenon that is characterized with very spelled out power imbalances. So with this, I have in mind my sort of proposed area of research that focuses on large scale ad investments that perhaps have a track record of human rights issues, and you want to get perspectives from both sides of the story. Particularly, how best do you go about getting trust from those that are in quotes accused of using power to maybe subjugate or advance their agenda at the expense of those that have much less power. Thank you.
Okay, I'm not sure whether I really understand the question. I think if I did not understand, Dominic, you can correct me. He's talking on human rights and power. Okay, is it?
Yeah, Ibrahim. I think it's and what you can add something, but I think it's the question of the power and knowledge and the privilege that the researcher has and can develop while imposing their categories or their knowledge to the people they research they do research among. Is that right, Wacheha? Is it?
Yeah. Absolutely. But I think more important, the question is how do you gain trust to the actors that perhaps in the literature or in the news or in commonplace discussions are perceived to be the ones that are perpetrating injustices. Because you want to get both sides of the story, and ensure that there is empirical evidence towards that. But clearly, given maybe the mainstream publicity, there could be trust issues. Those that are accused in the public, court of public opinion could be, could withhold to open up and have discussions in fear of perhaps being misreported or things like that.
So if I understand the question, he's asking the way that we can trust the media or the way that we can have trust for the communities, if I really understand.
Ibrahima.
Yes.
Hi, hello, this is Joki. Maybe I can just explain. I think I get what my countryman Washira is talking about. And I'm so happy to see so many people that that I know here. I think it's the question of how do we, how do you gain trust?
Gain trust, okay.
Trust when you're doing research, especially where there are so many forces. Okay. There are so many forces, people against you. For instance, I know Ashira does like research in, large scale investment like land and stuff like that, or climate change issues. So where say you have people like the big landowners or like the national parks, here in Kenya is a big deal. These national parks, which are owned by government, by very rich people, versus local people who could be a bunch of poorer, pastoralists. How do you negotiate your legitimacy so that you can get valid data from each side without being seen to be biased or not representing the interest? And I just wanted to say that I think, is it in 2014, when I was doing my own field work, I wrote a practice note, a research note, because I also found myself in these dilemmas. And I remember one of the things I found or I've written about is like we need two kinds of permits. So beyond getting the permit from the government, do research, go ahead and do your thing. As researchers, we always need to think about, beyond the research ethics, legal research ethics, how do we get a social research permit? And a social permit is not a paper anywhere. Is people accepting you by maybe getting legitimacy because of the time you spend among the people, because you also respect their ethics as a community, whatever their ethics are, their moral ethics, whether it's a way of dress or, whatever, culture or something. So for me, it's how we can do that by accepting this social permit that is based on local ethical standards, not those legal standards by the government or by our research bodies. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you for this clarification. So I was telling that the people are the heart of the research, and relationships can be the making or breaking of a project. So ethical solutions rely on investment in relationships and in capacity building amongst our informer. So this is for me the answer I would like to share with him, and to let him know that we need a deep our understanding of the context and culture in which we are operating. Is essential to enabling ethical work. Okay.
Thank you, Ibrahima. We have now, I think, a hand from Divine. Divine, would you like to contribute?
Thanks, Dominic, and thanks, Ibrahima. I had put up my hand, but I saw Njoki was intervening on the same, so I decided to take off my hand. But I think the question of building, there were two parts of the question. I think one is how to build relations and how to build trust, you know, with research sites and research participants or research subjects. I think I was reflecting over it, and I was thinking, one, there are also discipline and method specific frameworks of engaging people, which is one, that depending on what methodology or what instrument one is using, one also has different ethical issues or ethical quandaries that one has to deal with. So if I am using a quantitative instrument, for example, if I'm administering a survey, I have ethical issues, but at the same time, they might be different from similar or different from somebody who is doing a kind of a qualitative interview, or somebody who is doing an ethnographic study where they require that they have to embed themselves within a specific context. So I think it might be important for us to try to see what each of these activates as ethical issues, and then also to see how the ethical issues which spawn across all these different, but each of these also require that we build relationships, with people, that we build ethical relationships, you know, with what some people will call the subject, some people will call the research sites. But my approach is always that ethics first starts with the self. It's always with our ethics towards the world, our ethics towards others. When one starts from that position, when one starts reflecting from that position, it enables one to be able to think about how one engages other people. And I think building relations means what you had indicated before, which is about transparency also, but also transparency has its limits, you know, like if I'm doing ethnographic work and I have my field notes, I can tell you lots of things that I can tell you about transparency, but I don't know how much I want to share my field notes, you know, with people. I mean, see what happens when people's field notes got published, and you know the kinds of chaos that it costs. So, and at the end of the day, for me, I think these ethical issues and issues of building relations with communities are challenges that will continue to run, but I think it has to start with the self, with one's relationship first with yourself, relationship with other people, and also relationship with your own conscience, you know, because at the end of the day, one should not be able to do something, I would say, that I cannot really explain to my own mother, you know. I should be able to do something that I can explain to my mother. So if I cannot explain it to my mother, then I should not be doing it, you know. Thank you.
Ibrahima, would you like to react?
So what I would like to add concerning this point, which is concerning the people, is for me that we have to you know to discuss with people, to be honest, to know that we have to share our research with them, because the most important problem that I think we face as researchers is that we visit one community we make some interview there, so and we disappear for a long time. And another researcher came, want to do research in this community. Sometimes, you know, this can, for me, create some misunderstanding between researcher and the participant, because they don't know what is the conclusion of the last research. And there is a new guys who arrive and who want to do research in their community. So for me, it's research. It's for researcher to respect the principle of research journey. Like, you know, you have your research idea, you do the different stage of the research, you finish, so you have to return to the community to share your results to the community. I think it can facilitate our intervention in some community. This is for me the way that I think about these issues.
Thank you. Yes, I'd like to follow up in a way and say that there's something that we haven't really discussed, but that I think is really central in the, you know, when we think about building relationship, building trust, is a question of time and like the temporality of the research, like, and it's very also specific to discipline, right? Like as an anthropologist, you know, I believe that to establish a good rapport, like trustful relationship with the folks in my field site, I need months and months of being, you know, together, of sharing, you know, personal moments, etc. But we have to recognize that we, you know, at different moments of our career, we don't have this time, or like certain disciplines do not take the time to spend a lot of time, you know, with people, like, or in the same site. People like move from a village or a city to another city, and that's compromising the capacity, the ability of building trust, like real trust between human beings. Trust is not like, oh, you look nice, you look trustful, I'm going to trust you. Trust means like repeated experiences. Like to really trust somebody, you have to see that same person again and again, and you have to test the person. So are you allowed somebody to test you and to make sure that you are going to do what you are going to do? So yes, I think this is like something that is sometimes very I don't know, taboo in like the research and ethics guidelines, you know, but that is central to this very human relationship.
Yes, I'm agree with you. You know, if you remember the debate concerning the vaccine, when there was a debate on French TV, when they was
Yes.
talking about they can go in Africa and, you know, to make some vaccinal issue concerning the COVID-19. You know, it's raised a big debate in the network, and the people say that we don't need, it's for me that's the one problem that we face concerning the vaccine in Africa because of this kind of situation. People say that they used to come in Africa, they make some vaccine, they test their vaccine in the population, and at that time we do not have an ethics committee to see whether all the aspect of these vaccine is respected or not. So we have such kind of problem even in DRC.
Yeah, no, yeah, I absolutely remember that terrible moment on French TV, and yes, that was also a question of trust and past experiences that were compromising, you know, the intention and the declared intentions of the researcher. I hope I haven't left out any question from anybody in the audience. I don't see any raised hand. We are going to wrap up because it's almost 5. Ibrahim Anyang, let me thank you very much for this discussion on ethics. It raised like many interesting questions, and I feel that's, you know, obviously a topic that we should, you know, come back to regularly. There's so much to be said, and that's so central to address, you know, our experience concerning ethics dilemma in our research, especially like, you know, in a public of, you know, PhD candidates. So thank you so much for your time. I want to say that so we have a seminar every other week, and next seminar is going to be on May the 19th. We'll be hearing from Claire Lester. She's a postdoctoral fellow at UMass, and she will present a critical approach to ideological discourse analysis. And also on June 2nd, we will have a session by Yusra Amdawi. She's also in Dakar and also a postdoctoral fellow at UMass. And she will be discussing the fact of doing field work in a war zone region. So I bet also, you know, occasion to discuss ethics from another perspective. So thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dominique. Thank you.
Thank you, Dominic. Thank you, Ibrahim.
Bye-bye.